Solo backpacker here. Pretty windy on the 178. With my family, we're headed off to Kernville, where we're going to be joining my son's Boy Scout troop and do some crafting. But pretty big Joshua trees out on the 178, and I have never seen a Joshua tree fruit before, and it's crazy. Yeah. I wonder if it's edible. I wonder. Never seen it before. Looks like only the bigger ones are fruiting. But that's amazing, huh? Solo backpacker, sharing this with you and out. Take care. Kingsford Easy Light. Anyhow, let's let that burn a while. I've got my Vargo stove with some charcoal in it, and we're going to try to roast some of these Joshua fruit ourselves and see if the Oxford companion to food is correct. If once roasted, if the fruit of the Joshua tree is actually sweet tasting. We're going to find out. I have found a few folks on the internet who was like, the people at Oxford don't know what they're talking about. But we're going to do our own experiment, since it's the first time in 50 years I've ever seen Joshua trees fruiting, especially on this scale. Okay, let's let these burn down a little bit and we'll roast away. So I've started roasting them a little bit. The fire is still burning a little, but I'll put it lower as the fire burns out. But I've got them on one of these marshmallow bamboo sticks, and like I said, I'll adjust it so it actually roasts at the right level. But we'll see. We'll see what this fruit tastes like, and we'll find out together. Thanks for coming along. Okay, there's absolutely no roasting guidelines online or anything, so we're going to try to roast these as best we can, and then give them a taste. See if they are sweet tasting. If the Oxford Companion to Food, which was written 100 years ago, knows what they're talking about or not. But here we go, roasting away. Joshua tree fruit. Okay, we're continuing to roast away on this Joshua tree fruit. Roasting the smaller one first. Gonna try some of the larger ones, see if that affects taste, but although the Oxford Companion to Food says this is very sweet tasting once roasted, I think I'm prepared for something that's a new dimension of awful. So we'll find out. We'll find out real quick here. But I fear it's going to be another 50 years before I see this fruit again. But at least we'll have tried it. Find out if East Coast science has anything to it, or if somebody's just writing because they know this fruit is so rare. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, we've roasted. I'm at work. I'm right next to the street. But we've roasted one of these Joshua tree fruits, and it looks like they have seeds inside of them. So it doesn't look like a whole lot of meat to eat. But we're going to try it and see if there's any rumor. It's hot, so I know it's roasted. Let's see if it's sweet tasting. You know, that is slightly sweet tasting. And it makes me want to eat some more of this. Right on, Oxford. You might know what you're talking about. Yes, it is subtly sweet tasting. This is roasted. I haven't tried it raw, but there's not a lot of fruit because of these seed pods. And I don't want to eat the skin. But it looks like this fleshy green part right here is the actual sweet part. So let's try some more. Okay, what I did to this first guy is slice the skin off. And I'm going to try to eat around the fruit, eat around the seed pod, because it seems like that dark green stuff is the sweeter stuff. So let's see if it's any good. Okay, the fruit of the Joshua tree, which is super rare, like I said, in 54 years, this is the first time I've ever seen fruit that you can pick. The flowers are soft and look something similar, but they usually don't have substance. This is the only time. It's got a horrible aftertaste and slightly sweet tasting. I ate around the seed pod by skinning the skin off. Horrible aftertaste now that I'm experiencing it, but when you eat this dark green stuff on the outside, it is slightly sweet, kind of like a kumquat skin, the skin to the kumquat, but maybe not as sweet as the inside of the skin of a kumquat. Definitely it'll keep you alive. You'll survive, but you won't live, as we used to say in the Army. But you'll definitely survive. So this is the fruit of the Joshua tree, and it's a certifiable wild edible. And like a lot of wild edibles, it'll keep you alive, but you're probably not going to see it on a restaurant palate. Okay, let's do another large one. See if there's a, this was the smallest one I had. Let's roast a large one and see if there's any difference in taste. Okay, we're roasting a larger one now, and we'll see if there's any difference in taste from the small one that we roasted. Hopefully there'll be more meat on these larger ones. Horrible aftertaste. I would definitely eat these if I was starving. But if I see them fruiting again in my lifetime, I don't know if I'll try it again. Maybe for the benefit of others, but now that I've tried them and had that subtle sweet taste, and I say subtle like it's barely perceptible, the outer skin that surrounds these seed pods. It's a little sweet tasting, very subtle. The aftertaste is probably not worth it. And I feel like if I had a basket of these and ate them, I could actually fill up on them and survive. Okay, we'll see how this big one roasts. Thanks for checking it out. Okay, I've peeled the seed pod, or the skin off, because of these seeds. And it seems to be this darker material on the outside of the skin that's somewhat sweet. Let's try this bigger one and see what it tastes like. Okay, the bigger ones are not as sweet as this smaller one here. This smaller one is still a little sweeter. Which is to say, not very. So if you're trying to survive, you probably want to eat the littler ones, because this larger one has barely any sweetness to it. And the little one, the sweetness is subtle. And again, I've just taken a few bites, and oh, the aftertaste is just brutal. But I do feel like if you had, 6 or 12 of these, you could fill up on them, which would be important if you were in a food scarce situation, a survival situation. Okay, so we roasted some Joshua tree fruit. We examined what the Oxford Guide to Food had to say. Once roasted, they're very sweet tasting. That is primarily bullshit. The smaller ones have a very subtle sweet taste, very subtle, and then everything is overpowered by a sour cactus-like aftertaste that really just spoils any type of good taste you might have experienced. But there it is. This is the fruit of a Joshua tree, which in 50 years I haven't seen before. And I visit Joshua trees every year in a few locations. Okay, there is our experiment. And here's something. I found this sewing thing. It's some sort of bobbin. And I cut the tip off. And that's my emergency, or my my secure lock pin for my Vargo. So it never comes apart on me anymore with that little modification. Hey, thanks for checking this out. This is the fruit of a Joshua tree, and never seen it before in my life. And I frequent the desert often. Alrighty, we tried that. We found out that the Oxford Guide to Food really doesn't know what it's talking about. Maybe it's subtly sweet, the smaller ones, but very subtly, and then immediately overpowered by a horrible aftertaste. But you could eat 6 or 12 of these and survive. Okay, Solo Backpacker, out. Just to make sure we got the science right, I roasted this little one, because the little one seemed to be a little sweeter than these bigger ones. And I'll try it. We'll see if it's a sweet candy-like flavor comes through. Well, it's a little sweeter than the bigger one, and when I say a little, I mean very little. And then that acidic alkaline taste just overwhelms you afterwards. You know, they're a little more palatable warm. You probably want to eat these things warm if you're eating for survival. But like I said, 6 or 12 will keep you alive. And I think we've explored the myth of whether this is something you would actually seek to eat. And I think the answer is no. I think it's something that you would eat if you were in a survival situation and food was scarce. I do think it can fill you up with substance and you could go on. Okay, thanks for joining me. Take care.